Hello and welcome to another Classic Comics live stream coming at you here on New Year's Eve. I hope you're having a happy New Year's Eve yourself, and I wish you a happy new year in the coming year. I want to thank everyone who has stopped by to listen to the stream, especially those who are listening on the rewatch afterward. Now, what I'm going to be doing here for this stream is I've focused a lot on the DCU and James Gunn and Cavill and all that, and I've really not talked much about Marvel Studios and what's been going on with them lately. Obviously, they've had quite a year, and they've got an interesting year coming up, if headlines are to be believed. Now, the first thing I want to talk about with Marvel is this Daredevil show. So let me bring up an article here about this new Daredevil show. Now, of course, they had a streaming series on Netflix several years ago that was quite popular. It's probably one of the better things they've done, and it borrowed heavily from Frank Miller's work, and it was pretty dark, pretty gritty. And now they've brought Charlie Cox, the same actor who played Daredevil, back for a new Daredevil series, which is going to be on Disney Plus. But apparently there's going to be a few differences. And this one's going to basically have a more humorous, lighthearted tone to it. And really, aside from Charlie Cox and I guess Vincent D'Onofrio, who played the Kingpin, he's going to be back as well. But pretty much everyone else from that show is gone. They're not bringing back Deborah Wool to play Karen Page. The actor that played Foggy Nelson, he's not coming back. I don't know about the actor who played or actress who played Kingpin's wife. I don't know if she's going to be in it or not. And they're going to bring in some new actors to round out the cast here. So I'm just going to go ahead and go through this article because apparently Charlie Cox thinks that given his current tone, the tone for the new show, he'd be a good fit for Deadpool 3. So let's look at this. Daredevil star Charlie Cox wants to see a crossover with Marvel Studios' upcoming Deadpool 3, starring Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. Wonderful. So Cox, who plays the lawyer turned vigilante Matt Murdock in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, recently appeared at German Comic Con Winter Edition to talk about the upcoming Daredevil Born Again. He revealed the tone of the new series would fit well alongside Deadpool 3, and he'd like to see the two characters meet. I think because of the tone of our show, I think there's a place for Daredevil to show up in Deadpool. It would be really cool, Cox said. He then joked, "Great, now that's a news story." So Cox's comments are in no way a confirmation that Matt Murdock and Wade Wilson will meet in the MCU. Unless Marvel Studios make an announcement, this is just a musing from Cox about the tone of Born Again. Matt and Wade have interacted in the comics, but they don't typically get along because of their opposite personalities and views on killing. Daredevil Born Again is an upcoming Disney Plus series that brings back Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin, although the series is otherwise an entirely separate show from Netflix's Daredevil, which ended after 3 seasons. The Netflix show, excuse me just a moment here. All right. The Netflix show had a much darker tone than most MCU fare, being a gritty crime drama like most Daredevil comics. Daredevil's recent MCU appearances in Spider-Man No Way Home and She-Hulk Attorney at Law were lighter in comparison, and the Deadpool films are a middle ground of silly jokes and bloody R-rated violence. While the last two Daredevil movies were made by 20th Century Fox, Deadpool 3 will be made by Marvel Studios after Disney absorbed 20th Century Fox in 2019. This third film will officially bring Ryan Reynolds' Merc with a Mouth to the MCU. It will also see Hugh Jackman return as Wolverine after he seemingly retired the character in Logan. This will make Logan the second X-Men character to officially join the MCU after Patrick Stewart's cameo as Professor X in Doctor Strange's Multiverse of Madness. So, what they're going to do here, and first let me say, making Daredevil a lighthearted kind of jokey character, that's totally acceptable. I mean, they've done that with Daredevil in the comics. That's how he started out. He really kind of started as kind of a basically kind of a Spider-Man ripoff in some ways, in that he was a kind of a jokester and he would make wisecracks and stuff. But that really only lasted his first few issues, and after that, he began to become more of a sort of straightforward character. Eventually, getting to the point where, during Frank Miller's run, and then with subsequent creators, he had a very dark, sort of harsh tone to it. So, if they want to make Daredevil a lighthearted character, I'm not necessarily opposed to that. But you know, if you're basically starting over in effect, recasting everybody, why are you bringing Charlie Cox back? Why not just recast him with another actor? And I think the reason is pretty obvious. He's popular in the role. People liked him. People liked that Daredevil show, and they want to see him in it. And Disney knows that if they put him in the role, it'll please people. But just like with Loki, just like with Hawkeye, just like with uh, Captain America and the Winter Soldier, what have you, they're going to use this and Moon Knight. Moon Knight's another one. They're going to take this popular male character and use him to draw people in, but the show is really going to be about the female characters around him. He's going to play second fiddle. He's going to be goofy. And again, it's one thing to make him a wisecracking character, but is that what they're gonna do? Or are they gonna make him into a clown? Are they gonna make him ineffective, make him kind of dumb? The way they tend to seem to do, like with Thor. Like, look at what they did with Thor. So, is that what we're gonna get? My guess is is what it's going to be. Now, talking about the rest of the cast, so there has been some casting announcements. Now, this article here, it says, addition to Daredevil Born Again cast hint at recasting of Karen Page. And of course, Deborah Wool played Karen in the Netflix show, and she was really good in that. And I forget the actor that played Foggy now, but he was also very good in that show. They were both really well cast, just like excellent casting. But apparently, Deadline is reporting that Margarita Levieva and Sandrine Holt have joined Charlie Cox in the cast. Their roles remain currently unknown. Nevertheless, the site added, I hear they may be playing love interests for the leads. Besides Cox, that means Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin. And Netflix's Daredevil, Ayelet Zurer, portrayed the Kingpin's beloved Vanessa. Therefore, one of the actresses could be her. Of the two, Holt is closer to her age. As for Levieva, Daredevil had multiple friends in the comics. She doesn't have to be Karen Page. On February 26, we scooped that Dakota North was headed to the MCU. North is a private investigator. She briefly had an affair with Daredevil. She-Hulk attorney at law already paved the way for North. The Disney Plus series introduced fashion designer Luke Jacobson. In the comics, Jacobson was North's first client. Coincidence? We doubt it. In other words, she might not play Paige. So what they seem to be suggesting is she's going to play Dakota North, who's a pretty obscure Marvel character. She had like a miniseries in the 80s, one 4-issue miniseries. And then other than that, she's really not really been in anything. I mean, she pops up once in a while, but she's a Marvel female character. So obviously Disney's, scraping the bottom of the barrel to find these female characters like Night Nurse and that sort of thing. So maybe that's who she's going to play. Uh, and then again, this other actress will play Kingpin's wife. I forget Vanessa. Yeah, I think that's her name. And what you'll see is that the show is really going to be about Dakota North. It'll be about Dakota North and Vanessa, and the Kingpin and Daredevil will just kind of be these dopes who just sort of get to hang around and wait for the women to tell them what to do. I could be wrong, but I've not seen anything from him in the last year. And actually, I haven't even pulled this article up here. Let me go ahead and share the screen with it. Give me just a second here. Okay. All right, there we go. So these are the two actresses I'm talking about. So Levieva and Sandrine Holt. Again, this actor, she kind of vaguely resembles the one that played Kingpin's wife. She's, a little bit, I wouldn't say middle aged, but she's, not young. And she has dark hair. I'm guessing Levieva, if someone's going to play Dakota North, it'll be her. Um, Dakota North kind of cracks me up because whenever I think of her, I always think of the TV show Electric Company, which was a kids program in the 70s, and they had a character on there named Fargo North Dakota. and, and it always makes me think of that. But yeah, I'm guessing that that's who this show is going to really mainly be about. And much like these other streaming shows, they're just going to use the male hero to sort of lure you in and get you to watch. Now, talking about the shows they've got coming up, it seems they're going to have fewer shows on the slate in 2023 than they had originally planned. And let me bring this article up. Let's see. There we go. All right. So Marvel removes 2023 movie and TV schedule, signaling major delays. So Marvel Studios' removal of a promo for its 2023 slate suggests certain Disney Plus shows may be delayed. While nothing has been officially confirmed, this potential change supports claims that the MCU is pumping the brakes in pursuit of quantity or quality over quantity. Originally, 2023 was expected to launch Phase 5 of the MCU with 3 theatrical films and 5 Disney Plus series. But now, Marvel Studios' swift social media response suggests that a slimmed down slate, try saying that 5 times fast, is more likely coming in 2023 and that 2 Disney Plus spinoffs have been delayed. Okay, so at 5 a.m. Eastern Time, Marvel Studios UK Twitter posted a video promoting projects on the MCU's 2023 theatrical and Disney Plus slate. However, that video has since been deleted. In addition, in addition to featuring recent MCU characters and events, the video listed the following 8 live-action movies and shows that were confirmed at this summer San Diego Comic-Con to have 2023 premieres. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumanium, Secret Invasion, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Echo, Loki, Ironheart, The Marvels, and Agatha, Coven of Chaos. Because we all wanted that Agatha show, right? Jesus. This deletion reinforces newfound evidence that Marvel Studios will only release 3 Disney Plus series in 2023 and that Agatha, Coven of Chaos, and Echo have in fact been bumped from the slate. Oh, gee. What disappointing news. Uh, yeah. 2 Disney Plus shows and counting. So the Alakwa Cox-led Echo and Catherine Hahn's WandaVision spinoff aren't the only 2023 Disney Plus series with no release date. Season 2 of What If was originally set to release in 2022 before it was bumped to early 2023. But in 2023, teasers and promos only including the one which was just deleted. What If was nowhere to be found, indicating that Marvel Studios has delayed the animated series as well. It's also possible these MCU delays won't be the last. Due to Blade's production woes, there's been speculation that The Marvels may shift from its July release to the fall 2023 slot. While that remains to be seen, the real question surrounding Echo and Coven of Chaos is why they've been delayed. Since the MCU is built upon interconnectivity, their absence Their absence from the 2023 slate could be due to canon, but if not, is it due to story problems, production issues, or rather a mandate from Marvel Studios President Kevin Feige or returning Disney CEO Bob Iger? The answer should become more clear in the coming months if and or when Marvel Studios confirms these delays. And so yeah, it seems like they're delaying stuff and they're going to reduce the amount of content they're going to be pushing out in 2023. And I have another article about that. Let me bring that one up. All right. Marvel reportedly unhappy with Phase 4 and considering major changes to Phase 5 and 6 slate. Marvel Studios could be making some massive changes to their Phase 5 and Phase 6 lineups after the negative reception to some of the content in Phase 4. There's no denying that this new phase of MCU content post Avengers Endgame was mixed. While projects like Black Panther Wakanda Forever and Spider Man No Way Home were widely praised, movies such as Eternals and Thor Love and Thunder missed the mark for many. That's putting it mildly. Many feel that this is due to Marvel Studios and Disney focusing on quantity over quality, especially when it comes to utilizing Disney Plus as a storytelling tool. And that's something I wholly agree with. I don't even have Disney Plus and I don't even watch these shows. And I mean, I am already sick to death of them, to be honest. Nearly all of those new MCU shows had reactions ranging all over the place, with She Hulk, Attorney at Law, and The Falcon and the Winter Soldier taking the brunt of the negativity. I actually didn't think The Falcon and the Winter Soldier was that bad. I mean, I think that was actually one of the better ones. Um, I'd put that one ahead of, say, Loki or Moon Knight, or really just about any of them. Now, following the lukewarm reception to Phase 4 and the firing of former Disney CEO Bob Chapek, Marvel Studios is looking to make some changes. A new report from Cosmic Circus sources revealed how Marvel Studios might be facing some big changes after Bob Iger's return as CEO at Disney and the negative feedback Phase 4 has received from fans and critics. Many believe the last 2 years of Marvel content have been lukewarm and that the studio's prioritizing quantity over quality. You already said that, dude. According to Cosmic Circus and the outlet sources, Marvel themselves have picked up on those worries about the overall approach for Phase 4. So now, quote, as a preventative measure to assure quality control, unquote, both Marvel and Disney are reevaluating future releases, unquote, of Phase 5 and beyond that are not already in production. Their sources say that Marvel Studios is hoping to hammer in a quality over quantity take on its future projects to avoid the issues it faced with Phase 4. They note that one move behind considered what? They note that one move considered by Disney and Marvel is to develop a sort of creative oversight on the MCU's future releases in order to establish more quality control moving forward. The Cosmic Circus also reiterated how they heard that special presentations are gaining more traction behind the scenes as a medium to deliver more potential projects moving forward. It's worth noting that even with any changes, Phase 5 is likely to contain a smaller amount of releases to Phase 4, assuming nothing already announced is outright canceled. The important thing is that fans shouldn't expect Marvel Studios to start increasing its output even more than the studio is currently doing. I mean, honestly, how could they? After hearing that news, there's likely one question running through the mind: what changes should be expected? As Cosmic Circus pointed out, any outright cancellation of Disney Plus series or theatrical movies are unlikely. Shifts in format are more probable, such as the rumor of Nova shifting from series to special presentation or Armor Wars going from show to movie. Looking ahead into 2024, only two series are known: Agatha Coven of Chaos and Daredevil Born Again. Charlie Cox's show even has 18 episodes, meaning that it will run for a good chunk of the year. Past that, the only two projects that still seem to be in the works are shows shows are Vision Quest and Wonder Man. Currently, it isn't known if they'd be a part of Phase 5 or Phase 6. It's hard to pinpoint if this will lead to fewer shows overall or just fewer new IPs. For example, while there might not be as many newly introduced series, there will be more space for Marvel to explore second seasons for characters such as Miss Marvel or Moon Knight. How much content Marvel Studios has access to, some might not be able to help but feel with how much content Marvel has access to, some might not be able to help but feel that the MCU won't be able to build everything it needs in time for Avengers Secret Wars. Whatever happens, this is a good move for Marvel Studios. Phase 4 was a mixed bag for many, and a re-evaluation like this should help assure fans that the company cares about the final products it pushes out the door. The next MCU project, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, hits theaters in February 2023. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the problem is that they're putting out way too much crap way too quick. And a lot of it, honestly, just isn't very good. In fact, some of it's downright awful. And but I'm not really expecting that this reevaluation of quality is really going to make a difference because I don't think that the issues they see with quality are going to be the same issues that I or perhaps other people see with the quality. I think they're going to take more time to get the visual effects done because they've taken a lot of heat on the visual effects, particularly like She-Hulk. The visual effects in that weren't very good. They'll take more time putting out fewer projects so they can make the visual effects look better. But I mean, are they going to address the writing? Are they going to address the nonsensical storylines? I find it hard to believe that they will, and they certainly aren't going to change course when it comes to the wokeness and that sort of thing. Bob Iger's already made it clear that's not going to happen. But relating to the visual effects, so they've gotten a bad reputation, Disney has, of being a bit of a slave driver when it comes to the visual effects they have their visual effects people put out. So there's an article here on this from Screen Rant that kind of goes a bit into this. Marvel's VFX problems prove the dark truth that the MCU can't escape. Marvel Cinematic Universe's VFX problems point to larger cultural issues the studio has failed to confront. Hollywood's blockbusters may be art, but sadly, there's a long history of the artists themselves being treated badly. The VFX industry supporting films and TV shows is particularly vulnerable simply because the industry is comparatively new and isn't unionized. But although these problems are industry wide, one studio's name keeps coming up: Marvel. They're a horrible client, says one former Marvel VFX artist observed in a recent social media post. And I've seen way too many colleagues break down after being overworked while Marvel tightens the purse strings. Anonymous reports have led journalists to begin digging into the state of the VFX industry, trying to figure out how deeply rooted the problems really are. That's led to a number of shocking studies, most recently by Gizmodo. According to these reports, Marvel is by no means atypical across the industry, but the problems are more pronounced and exacerbated by Marvel's sheer scale. It's hard to believe that only a few years ago, Marvel only released 2 or 3 movies a year. Now the studio produces an endless stream of films and TV shows. Marvel's Phase 4 has only lasted 2 years, and yet, in terms of viewing hours, it runs for longer than Phases 1 through 3 combined. Yeah, man, it's just a crap ton of stuff they've put out. Spider-Man is well known for an iconic line that's usually associated with his beloved Uncle Ben. With great power comes great responsibility. Marvel Studios is now Hollywood's biggest force, and that power and influence comes with a heavy responsibility. Unfortunately, at this point in time, it looks as though Marvel's cultural problems mean the studio is failing to live up to it. Given its continued dominance of the industry, the fact that Marvel's VFX problems are so pronounced proves that it perhaps isn't treating its position with the necessary respect. First problem lies in the competition between VFX houses, with studios like Marvel typically looking for the cheapest options. Fearful of losing the work, VFX houses frequently cut their bids down so low they barely make a profit or break even. And what profit they do make is only often thanks to tax credits. With VFX houses moving from country to country in pursuit of these incentives that will make them more competitive. Marvel's CGI and VFX requirements are often especially demanding, cutting into these profits. I've seen the books, one VFX artist told Gizmodo. Despite working on major motion pictures, the profit margins for these VFX houses are in the single digits. There have been consistent reports Marvel tend to shoot a project in such a way that major aspects can be changed at a moment's notice, allowing their creative teams maximum flexibility. And this is something I've heard that when Marvel's shooting a series or a movie, I mean, they will shoot multiple versions of it in effect so that they can sort of mix and match, plot lines and scenes, and so you're not sure what this thing is going to be till pretty late in the game. It kind of reminds me of what they did with Rise of Skywalker. That's the first time I really heard of it being done in a big way, but apparently that's something that Marvel's just doing commonly now. Each Marvel project involves a separate team, meaning VFX artists don't get the chance to cultivate the professional working relationships that will allow for optimum communication. Some projects run smoothly, while others are deeply problematic. Incredibly, Marvel didn't tell VFX artists when they bumped Avengers Endgame's release date forward by a month, meaning they had less time to complete their work. VFX artists find themselves bombarded by messages from different stakeholders, some of whom feel as though they shouldn't have any creative input at all. All this means VFX houses are often implementing significant changes at short notice, generating numerous iterations of the same shots that will never be used, while having no additional funding available for more staff. There's a lack of consistent direction that results in so many hours of wasted time. One artist recalled a logo being reworked almost every week. As impress as impressive as the VFX artists may be, they can't carry on working this way. The issues described at Marvel are disturbingly reminiscent of how those described around Marvel's 2015 splits. Marvel Entertainment's reclusive CEO, Ike Perlmutter, was noted for a frugal attitude that meant he treated staff poorly and preferred to spend as little time as possible, or spend as little money as possible. Under Perlmutter, Under Perlmutter, Marvel ran a creative committee that offered feedback on countless different aspects of a given movie. Directors were often frustrated because they felt some members of the Marvel Creative Committee had no idea what it took to make a movie and should not be in a position where their feedback mattered so much. Patty Jenkins quit Thor the Dark World, Edgar Wright left Ant-Man, and Avengers Age of Ultron broke Joss Whedon. There were countless tales of MCU directors struggling with the Marvel Creative Committee, sometimes over the most absurd details. Iron Man 3's main villain was switched because of claims female action figures don't sell as well. Ironically, no merchandise was released surrounding the male villain anyway. These problems ultimately led Disney to force a corporate restructure. The film studio was pulled out of Marvel Entertainment, with Kevin Feige becoming president of Marvel Studios. Since then, things seem to have changed. The return of Natalie Portman, who left the MCU in frustration because her friend Jenkins had been treated so badly, should be seen as a major indication of a cultural shift. And yet, for all that's the case, Marvel's current issues with the CGI and VFX houses suggest the problems are still there, affecting other parts of the filmmaking process. The VX houses are describing the same spendthrift ways, the same communication problems, the same feedback from stakeholders who shouldn't be involved in the creative processes at all. And the changes haven't gone far enough because they haven't affected how the studios work with its key partners. The problem, of course, is that Marvel is becoming too big to change. Feige recently announced the MCU's Phase 5 slate, an ambitious one that means the conveyor belt of CGI and VFX will simply need to carry on rolling at speed for years. The announcement of Avengers Secret Wars may have left audiences thrilled, but it was greeted with weary sighs from VFX artists. Secret Wars will be bigger than Avengers Endgame, and that in itself was incredibly demanding for the VFX industry. A single shot at Avengers Endgame featuring dozens of heroes and armies of villains could take hundreds of hours from dozens of VFX houses. Secret Wars will be a multiversal adventure, undoubtedly featuring even more characters, and yet it will release in just 3 years' time, made at the same time as Phases 5 and 6. With Marvel's ambition in danger of exhausting VFX artists it depends on. Meanwhile, viewers are beginning to notice poor CGI and VFX to the point where even Thor Love and Thunder's director Taika Waititi openly mocked his own film's CGI. The issues will only change if Marvel decide to course correct on their corporate culture, treating their VFX artists better and avoiding overworking them. Marvel will perhaps need to decide to shift from automatically looking for the cheapest option, thereby fueling overworking, and instead perhaps even prioritizing work to houses that are unionized. It may even mean becoming a little less ambitious, with Marvel choosing to stagger its releases over a long time period. But Marvel Studios is the industry leader, and others will follow where Marvel leads. The MCU can transform Hollywood once again, not just in terms of popularizing shared universes, but also in terms of treating its vendors better. So, I mean, don't hold your breath on Marvel looking to hire more expensive options or to go with unionized VFX houses, which is the same thing. I mean, they both boil down to the same thing, more expensive VFX houses. Marvel's lost, or well, I say Marvel, but Disney in general has lost billions, and they're not going to become more inclined to spend money in the next few years at the least. They're going to be more inclined to save their money and to be even cheaper. And I think the most likely option, as we saw in the previous article and in this one, is that they're going to slow down the amount of content they're putting out, which again I think is a good thing. But I don't think that they're really going to address quality in the sense that I think it matters the most. I mean, yes, having better VFX will be good, but if they're not going to fix the writing, then I don't see any of this crap being any good. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and look at some stories relating to some specific Marvel properties here that are coming up. And of course, the first one is Ant-Man, which is coming up in February. And apparently, one of the villains in this is going to be MODOK. And apparently, as sometimes happens, apparently a toy has been released, and the toy has given folks a sneak peek at what MODOK is going to look like. And there's a look, I guess it's one of these pop vinyl things. And I mean, generally, he looks pretty close, except that, his face, he seems to be wearing like a helmet. Now, he wears this sort of, in the comics, he wears this sort of headgear, this kind of, I don't know what you call it. Obviously, it's there to support his enormous head because his head's so big in relation to his body. But they've apparently made it into a full helmet and faceplate and everything. So it's completely covering him. He's completely encased. Um, I'll have to wait and see how it looks. But I don't think this is actually such a bad idea. I do think that a character like MODOK, if you do him just like he is in the comics, it's going to look pretty goofy. Now, personally, I'm fine with it, but a lot of audiences are probably going to find it hard to accept and will just laugh at it. And I'm guessing that's what's kind of fueled this change where if they make him where he's more kind of encased in armor, maybe he won't look as goofy. I'm guessing that's what the motivation is behind this. Um, I don't know if the Ant-Man movie will be good or not. I'm guessing it won't be. Again, going back to the whole idea of Marvel using male characters to lure you in and then having the storyline focus on the female characters around the hero. If you look at that trailer that was put out earlier of Ant-Man, I mean, you've got 5 characters. You've got Ant-Man and the Wasp, then Scott's daughter, Cassie, and then Hank Pym and Janet, the original Wasp. So you've got 3 females and 2 males. And in that entire trailer, I'm not sure if Michael Douglas even says a word. I mean, he's basically just hanging around in the background the whole time. And it's like Cassie's the one who invents this gadget that winds up causing them to get pulled back into the quantum realm. So, it's pretty obvious it's going to be the females driving the plot here. Nothing new. It's just same old with Marvel. All right, let's move on to something else. Okay, so let's talk about Captain America New World Order. And let me see if I can find the right website here. Okay, we'll just go with that one. Okay, so apparently there's going to be a lot of characters in this one. And obviously this is going to feature uh what's the name? Anthony Mackie as Captain America. So Captain America 4, every MCU character expected to appear. So Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson will be the lead of Captain America New World Order, alongside a confirmed cast of old and new characters. But the complete cast joining the former Falcon in the first outing as Captain America is clearly yet to be revealed. The Captain America 4 release date is May 3rd, 2024. And in the multiverse saga, Marvel's strategy of announcing casting decisions sporadically helps avoid wider universe spoilers for audiences. It also paves the way for awesome surprises like Marvel casting Harrison Ford as General Ross in Captain America New World Order. As there are many upcoming MCU releases for Captain America 4, Sam Wilson's first solo feature to the new cap is bound to come with more fan pleasing cast updates for New World Order. So, Captain America New World Order script is being penned by the Falcon and Winter Soldier's head writer Malcolm Spellman. Great. With Dallin Musson, whoever that is. Marvel hasn't revealed what the Captain America 4 story will be, but the movie will presumably continue tackling similar themes to Spellman's Disney Plus show. Moreover, based on the confirmed cast and the confirmation characters from the Falcon and Winter story, wait, Moreover, based on the confirmed cast and the confirmation that characters from the Falcon and Winter Soldier will be returning in upcoming MCU projects, there's some clues in what the plot could entail. Here's the current confirmed New World Order cast, what they could mean for the story, and other Marvel characters who appear in the new Captain America movie. Okay, so after several months with Sam Wilson being alone in the cast, Marvel Studios revealed Captain America New World Order would feature Harrison Ford's MCU debut. Ford will be taking over from the late William Hurt in the role of General Thunderbolt Ross. Casting a legend of cinema like Harrison Ford, best known as Indiana Jones and Han Solo, indicates Marvel has big plans for the character. These might even include the MCU debut of Red Hulk in Captain America 4. Another interesting addition to the cast is Tim Blake Nelson's Samuel Stearns, who took the first steps to becoming the leader in 2008's Incredible Hulk, but hasn't appeared in any other Marvel project since. While Tim Blake Nelson is technically an existing MCU cast member, 2008 was over a decade ago, and the Incredible Hulk's status in the MCU canon has been debatable. Finally, paying off the setup of Marvel's comics antagonist, the leader, after nearly 2 decades, as many fans especially excited about this new world order casting. And of course, like it says, I mean, the leader is really a Hulk villain. So why are you putting him in a Captain America movie? I think that's a pretty good question. But anyway, I don't make these decisions. So another returning MCU character, other MCU, other returning MCU characters include Joaquin Torres, the new Falcon, Danny Ramirez, and former super soldier Isaiah Bradley, both of whom appeared in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I mean, honestly, why is Isaiah Bradley in it? What's he going to do? The only completely new character in the cast is the mutant spy Root Beth Seraph, or Sabra, played by Shira Haas, the Israeli version of Captain America or Steve Rogers. Shira Haas's Captain America 4 character first appeared in 1980's Incredible Hulk, and she's been speculated by some to be a possible Black Widow facsimile, filling for Sam Wilson the role of Natasha Romanoff as she did for Steve Rogers. So again, this is kind of a change they're making. So there is a character named Sabra in the comics. She is a superhero. Now, to be fair, it's been a while since I read Marvel, but in the comics, Sabra, her abilities are she had like a magic cape that allowed her to fly, and she had these bracelets that fired some kind of like some kind of paralyzing beam or something like that. She wasn't a super soldier, not in the sense that Captain America was. So, or Black Widow for that matter. So it looks like they're doing a makeover of her so she can be more of, an action character. And you can bet she'll be doing a lot, if not most of the action in this movie. Others have pointed out that she could just as likely be a foil for the new Captain America. The cast list so far indicates that Captain America New World Order will continue where the Falcon and Winter Soldier left off, tackling the socio-political climate in a multiverse where superpowered individuals exist, potentially with Harrison Ford himself becoming the long-awaited Red Hulk. There are plenty of characters who could still appear, and below is a list of the most likely. So Bucky Barnes. So it's difficult to imagine Sebastian Stan not returning as Bucky Barnes in New World Order. The man formerly known as the Winter Soldier has appeared in all previous Captain America movies. Bucky and Sam were on good terms thanks to Steve, but it wasn't until the Falcon and Winter Soldier that they became friends independent of him. The decision to have the very last shot of the Disney series showing Sam and Bucky together at a party is hopefully telling that Bucky will be right by Sam's side moving forward. He is the one who helped acquire Sam's vibranium Captain America suit, after all. So that suit's vibranium? Okay, whatever. So fighting alongside him as he makes that title his own is something Bucky deserves to see. Notably, Bucky is one of the confirmed members of Marvel's Thunderbolts, which comes right after Captain America New World Order, so there's a big chance he's in both. Yeah, I think he's already, as they say, he's going to be in Thunderbolts. So I imagine he's going to be in this movie and then Thunderbolts as well. It is also likely that Wyatt Russell's John Walker, aka U.S. Agent, will be back for Captain America 4. After trying to be Captain America and taking a version of the Super Soldier Serum, Walker ended the Falcon and Winter Soldier by taking on the U.S. Agent title. The show attempted to partially redeem the character and make him more of an anti hero for the rest of Phase 4, and that is a role that he could fill in Captain America 4. Whether Sam has to form another uneasy alliance with him to stop a bigger threat or fight him directly because he's involved somehow, U.S. Agent's MCU future should line up well for an appearance here. Like Bucky, U.S. Agent has also been recruited into the Thunderbolts. I'm guessing he's not going to be in this, but and if he does, it'll be like a cameo. It won't be a significant role in the plot or anything. Sharon Carter. So Captain America 4 could also be where the MCU continues Sharon Carter's story as Power Broker. The former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Steve Love interest returned in the Falcon and Winter Soldier with the reveal that she's gone full villain. Sharon is now pardoned for her involvement in Captain America's Civil War and offered a spot with her old employer S.H.I.E.L.D. again. With more access than ever before, Sharon stays as the power broker, just getting started. Captain America New World Order could flesh out what her actual plans are. She will probably be in it in some way. James Rhodes, aka War Machine. New World Order could also be the perfect time to further explore the friendship partnership between Sam Wilson and James Rhodes, both former military members who recently lost their best friends. Moreover, with Isaiah Bradley's tragic backstory as the first Black Captain America being part of New World Order, there's a thematic precedent for including James Rhodes. Bradley experiences were much worse but contained parallels to both Sam's and James's respective military superheroes' careers. Don Cheadle could be part of Captain America 4's cast after starring in Armor Wars and Secret Invasion, which will determine War Machine's arc in the latter half of MCU Phase 5. Sarah Wilson. So Marvel Studios could also bring Adepero Oduye back as Sarah Wilson for Captain America New World Order. The episodic format of The Falcon and Winter Soldier gave Marvel time to explore Sam's family, which took the show to Louisiana so he could visit his sister and her kids. She might not have the biggest role if she returned, but could reveal whether she and Bucky have a future. Yeah, she will probably put in some guest appearance or something. Baron Zemo. So, with Baron Zemo missing from Thunderbolts and Captain America New World Order, there's been heavy speculation regarding the character's future. Since Zemo was considered a shoe in for both movies because of his MCU and comic book history, apart from being the main villain of Civil War, Zemo had to be part of an uneasy alliance with Sam and Bucky and Falcon and Winter Soldier, even though he is locked away in the raft by the end of the Disney Plus series. Zemo could once again hold information that Sam needs in Captain America New World Order. It's highly likely that Zemo's involvement in the movie is just being kept under wraps to keep from spoiling Marvel's plans for the character in Phase 5. Maybe, I don't know. I'm doubtful that he's going to be in this. So it would make sense, since he is a Captain America villain, it would make sense for him to be in the Thunderbolts because in the comics it was Baron Zemo who originally formed the Thunderbolts. But they're going more with the kind of Secret Invasion era sort of Dark Avengers version of Thunderbolts rather than the original version of them, which was a bunch of supervillains basically disguising themselves and trying to fool the public. So I don't know. I'm kind of doubtful he'll be in this, but we'll see. Countess Valentina Allegra de la Fontaine. So she made her debut in Falcon and Winter Soldier, recruiting John Walker to her secret team, which turned out to be the Thunderbolts. Since New World Order comes right after Thunderbolts, or right before Thunderbolts, it would be the perfect movie for Val to return and reveal more members of Marvel's notorious squad of anti-heroes. Moreover, with Harrison Ford's General Ross debuting in New World Order, he might have a thing or two to say about who will lead the Thunderbolts, which at present is Val's responsibility. So I'm going to go ahead right now and just predict that one of the after credits sequences at the end of New World Order will be a scene of the Thunderbolts. You know, it'll be introducing the whole group of them together or something like that. And yeah, she will probably be in Captain America New World Order. She was in Black Panther. She had a small part in that. So yeah, I would be very surprised if she doesn't pop up in this in some way. Eli Bradley. So there's also the chance that New World Order features the return of Eli Bradley, the future young Avenger debuted in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but didn't get his powers by then. Captain America 4 could be where begins using mutant growth hormone pills to become Patriot and run around in a red, white, and blue costume like Captain America. Depending on how quickly the MCU continues to build its Young Avengers roster, Eli's appearance in New World Order could feature other members of the team. This is even more likely since Eli's grandfather, Isaiah Bradley, is confirmed to be in the cast. Notably, The Falcon and Winter Soldier ended with Sam taking Eli and Isaiah to the Captain America Museum, where Cap shows them the tribute to Isaiah, which finally acknowledged Isaiah's pivotal role in Super Soldier history. Okay, so, the interesting thing, of course, with Harrison Ford being cast as Ross, of course, the big speculation is that he will become the Red Hulk at some point. That's certainly possible, but you know, eh, I just have a hard time imagining them getting Harrison Ford to agree to, have all those dots put on his face and get in one of those mocap suits to do the work he would need to do in order to have him be the Red Hulk. But hey, money talks, and I'm sure if they throw enough money at him, they would be able to get him to do it. Now, there's some other plot points that are the subject of speculation for Thunderbolts, and I wanted to bring up another one of those articles as well because this one is certainly interesting. Where is it here? Here we go. So, this is a rumor. This is from CBR. So, the Thunderbolts movie will feature Marvel's evil Superman. Reputable scooper Daniel Richtman sparked speculation that Thunderbolts will feature Marvel's Superman-like character Sentry as its main villain. Uh, so let's see. And I'm sorry, I said Captain America: New World Order. I meant Thunderbolts. So Thunderbolts will feature Sentry in a villainous role if a new rumor is to be believed. Twitter is awash with speculation that the Golden Guardian of Good will serve as the Thunderbolts' nemesis based on comments made by reputable scooper Daniel Richtman. Um, I'll take their word for it that he's reputable. I don't know. Rickman previously claimed that Marvel Studios planning to use an evil Superman character as the main antagonist in Thunderbolts. Sentry certainly fits the bill, as he possesses superpowers on par with the Man of Steel and is inextricably linked to a dark entity known as the Void. Even so, Marvel Cinematic Universe fans continue to debate whether Rickman was referring to the Sentry or if he actually meant another Superman like figure, Hyperion, instead. Or even, say, Gladiator or Blue Marvel or one of the other half dozen or so Superman ripoffs that Marvel has. For its part, Marvel Studios is yet to publicly comment on the Sentry's supposed involvement in Thunderbolts, which means the rumor should be taken with a grain of salt for now. If the Sentry is indeed making his MCU debut in Thunderbolts. Oh, hey, Overlord 69, thanks for stopping by. You stopped caring about the live action movies a long time ago? Yeah. Look, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. A lot of people have. Uh, if the Sentry is indeed making his MCU debut in the Thunderbolts, he could be the bomb that star David Harbour mentioned in a recent interview. Harbour, who reprises the Alexei Shostakov Red Guardian role he played in Black Widow, insisted that the upcoming blockbuster will have major knock on effects for Marvel Studios' wider shared universe. The star added that while he hadn't yet read the Thunderbolt script, what had been revealed to him about the story so far impressed him. The arc of the movie and how it functions, it's super cool. He said the idea is really cool. Great, whatever. And it would be because Hyperion, if it were him, because Hyperion was originally a character from an alternate universe. He was not part of the Marvel universe itself. So if they want to play up this whole multiverse angle, which is supposedly what this Phase 4 is all about, then it would make sense to maybe bring him in from an alternate universe. But I don't know if they would go with that or not. Overlord says, been watching a lot of Owen Wilson, Wes Anderson movies. Also watched Superman 1978 today. What a great movie. Yep, I love that movie. One of my all-time favorites. I haven't watched any of Wes Anderson's stuff in a while. I guess you mean like Bottle Rocket, right? And what else do they do? Like the Royal Tenenbaums, that sort of thing. And what other? Can't remember what other movies those two have specifically done together. So part of what Harbour finds so appealing about the project is apparently how different it is from the MCU's other ensemble projects. According to Harbour, the Thunderbolts aren't an elite fighting force like the Avengers, which infuses the movie with both comedy and sadness. We're like, the losers. And I think it's fun to watch us just mess everything up. I think that's the spectrum. I think it's very funny, but there's also a lot of pathos in it. So they're going to be clowns, basically. The Thunderbolts are going to be a bunch of clowns, or at least the male characters will be. The male characters will be clowns. The female characters won't. The females will be badass. Harbour also promised fans that Thunderbolts will further develop the relationship between Red Guardian and his adopted daughter, Florence Pugh's Yelena Belova. He added that he was looking forward to acting opposite Pugh again and described Thunderbolts director Jake Schreier's plans for her character as very interesting. Thunderbolts arrives July 26, 2024. So we got a little ways to go on that one. All right, see, what else did I have lined up? I think that's all the articles I had. Yeah, I think that's all of the ones I wanted to touch on. So I'll just go ahead and I'll do a little super team family blog here to sort of wrap the stream up. We're kind of getting close to an hour. Oh, hey, Mountains of Elysium. Hey, man, thanks for stopping by. Greetings at Classic Comics. Greetings to you and fellow nerds. Can't stay but dropping by to give the stream a like and wishing everyone a happy new year. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Happy new year to you too. Okay. Now, I assume, I don't know if folks have seen this before, but this is a blog a gentleman has made. He's been working on this thing since like 2010, and he photoshops fictional covers of team ups that never really happened in the comics, but they're really fun to imagine and to think about. So I'll just go through about a dozen or so of them here. So we start off with Swamp Thing and Man Thing, comics' two greatest muck monsters in one mind-staggering tale. And yeah, this is a pair that you would imagine them working together. They're kind of a team up that makes total sense. Both of them living in swamps and both of them being basically men who have been transformed into these non-human creatures. I like both Swamp Thing and Man Thing. I think I probably like Man Thing a little more. So let's see. And now as far as this cover is concerned, now the Swamp Thing figure that is by Bernie Wrightson, and that's like that might have been from the first issue of Swamp Thing where he first appeared back in like the early 70s. I'm not sure. The rest of the and I believe this is a Man Thing cover that he's been photoshopped into. The rest Man Thing and the alligators, those are from the same cover. But I don't remember the specific issue though. Okay, Dr. Midnight and Daredevil. Okay, so this is an interesting team up. So there's a brand new crime fighting team in town, and the underworld will never see them coming. Yes. So, of course, Dr. Midnight is the original blind superhero. Let's see, Overlord. I often write my own DC pitches for events and stories due to personal frustration with current DC publications. I got an idea with Gotham being renamed Metropolis East for economic reasons. I think you s- mentioned that in one of the comments on my one of my videos that you did that. Yeah, and you said something about that about Lex Luthor kind of like co-opting Gotham in some way. I think it sounded interesting. But yeah, so Dr. Midnight is the original blind superhero way before Daredevil, and the two of them working together is a team up that would certainly be interesting, and I'd like to see. I think Dr. Midnight's a character that DC really doesn't do enough with. I think they should utilize him more. All right, next, okay, so Deadman and Hellboy, and I think this may be the first cover. Well, no, yeah, no, I think we had Hellboy in another one. Um, let's see. So Deadman and Hellboy, it's the most offbeat paranormal investigation yet, but who's stalking who? And obviously, these are two characters that both have a kind of supernatural slant to them, and certainly the two of them working together would be interesting. Although for Hellboy, if he's going to team up with a DC character, a more obvious choice would be probably the Demon or maybe Blue Devil. All right. Blue Beetle and the Beast. And so this is an odd team up that at first glance you might think, why these two? So Overlord says, I got a whole complicated flow chart. Yeah. Also a supervillain civil war with one side fighting for ultimate tyranny while the other wants to keep the rulership more secret. Okay. Yeah, that sounds interesting. All right, so Blue Beetle and the Beast, why have them team up? And I'm guessing it's because they're both characters who are blue, first of all, but they're also characters who are very agile, kind of acrobatic, and wisecracking. And I think that's why the two would be paired together. And they're fighting Professor Power. Professor Power, kind of an underutilized villain at Marvel. Um, But really, for Blue Beetle, if he's going to work with a Marvel character, the obvious thing for him would be Spider-Man because he's basically a Spider-Man knockoff, particularly the uh, Ted Kord version of Blue Beetle. When Charlton was rebooting Blue Beetle in the 60s, they specifically hired Steve Ditko, who had just done Spider Man over at Marvel, to come over and help them reboot the character. And it was obvious that he kind of remade Blue Beetle as a kind of acrobatic, wisecracking character with a bug motif in the same vein as Spider Man. All right, so okay, now this is an interesting one. Challenges the Unknown and the Fantastic Four. So this is an interesting pairing. So if you're the Challenges the Unknown, and these days they're a fairly obscure group of characters, but they used to be like in the Silver Age, they were pretty well known. But the challenges of the unknown in many ways are basically the Fantastic Four minus their powers. I mean, there's a lot of parallels to them in terms of their attitudes, their personalities. Like there's a smart professor type character, there's a pretty blonde character, there's a young hotshot character who's really excitable, there's a hotshot pilot character who's also kind of gruff and that sort of thing. And it seems pretty clear that when Stanley created the Fantastic Four, he kind of modeled the original characters after the challengers of the unknown to some degree. And of course, the challenges of the unknown, I think, were created or co-created by Jack Kirby, who of course went on to co-create Fantastic Four. So it may have been him who kind of gave that, who's responsible for that. And yeah, having these two work together would certainly be interesting. Huh. Okay. Now this is an interesting one. Martian Manhunter and Beta Ray Bill. And of course, the obvious, I think, reason for the team up here would be because these are both alien characters. They're both, not from Earth. That's a, I believe that's a, and these are both by Bernie Wrightson, I believe. That's definitely, or not Bernie Wrightson. Oh, good Lord, now I'm blanking on the name. Walt Simonson. This is definitely Walt Simonson. He created Beta Ray Bill, and that's definitely his work there. And I believe that is actually a Walt Simonson Martian Manhunter as well. Okay, now here's one that makes a lot of sense. Green Arrow and Hawkeye. So them being paired together, the reasons for that are obvious. They're both archers who use a quiver full of gadget arrows. Hawkeye is, I think, in large part a Green Arrow knockoff, really, when you think about it. Now, this cover is interesting. This cover, I believe, is from, it's a Hawkeye cover, I believe, from the early 80s. And I forget who, I think maybe, what's her name? Mockingbird maybe was here in this spot instead. And then the guy took her out and put in Green Arrow. I'm not sure. But yeah, obviously having these two work together makes a lot of sense. Hmm. Okay. Wonder Woman and Captain America. And obviously, these two both that kind of star spangled motif to them. It would make a lot more sense if they actually set the story in World War II, during the Golden Age when they were both fighting the Nazis. That would be, I would like to see that if they would do a pairing between Captain America and Wonder Woman, put it back in that time period instead of in the modern day. But at least in terms of the costumes, particularly for Wonder Woman, it looks like her modern costume, not the Golden Age one. But certainly that would be cool to see these two meet. Ah, okay. So Starfire and Rom's Space Knight. Now that's an interesting pairing. Again, a pairing of a couple of alien characters, which is probably kind of the theme we're going with here. Rom, it's too late. The dire wraiths have conquered Earth, and you let them. Yeah, so Rom in his Marvel series, he was on Earth trying to save Earth from an infestation by a group of aliens called the Dire Wraiths. And I don't know, having these two work together would certainly be interesting, but it's not a team up that really springs to mind immediately. And I'm trying to think of, that's not a George Perez Starfire. That's probably from an issue of Teen Titans Spotlight or something like that. Okay, and then another pairing that makes a lot of sense, the Flash and Quicksilver. Why has Pietro Maximoff become an enforcer for the Central City Mafia? Speed, fellas. I warned you, Flash, I'd be the fastest man alive no matter what it took. And we've got a Flash hobbled with his leg in a cast. Uh, so yeah, having these two meet would certainly be interesting. It would make total sense. I don't know what cover this Flash is from, or the Quicksilver either, really. But certainly that would be a fun team up to see. Oh, now here's a cool one: Captain Marvel and Captain Marvel. And what with Thanos being the villain. Your choice is clear: battle each other to the death, or the seven deadly enemies of man will kill you both. Okay, so this is cool. And obviously, the Captain Marvel name has been used by multiple characters. Now, Captain Marvel was originally the character on the left here. He first appeared in the Golden Age and was obviously a kind of a Superman knockoff, but he actually sold very well. And when his sales actually started rivaling those of Superman, DC Comics, or what would eventually become DC Comics, they took legal action and basically prevented Fawcett Comics, the publisher of Captain Marvel, from publishing this character anymore. So then the character lay basically dormant for decades. And during that time, Marvel Comics became popular. And I guess at some point, the Marvel Comics or the Captain Marvel name became available. It wasn't, or was up for grabs. And they used that to create this version of Captain Marvel before DC would eventually bring this Captain Marvel back in the 70s, early 70s. But they couldn't publish a comic book with the name Captain Marvel, so they just called the book Shazam. And these days, they've actually just kind of given up and call the character Shazam anyway. Yeah, having these two characters meet would be really cool, especially if they were going to fight Thanos. That would be a really cool team up. Okay, and another really good one, Superman and Thor. A double-sized shocker, the mystery of Thor L. Tonight, I've discovered your greatest secret. You aren't Asgardian, you're Kryptonian. And yeah, having a team up dedicated to these characters would be pretty cool. They have met in the JLA Avengers team up, published back around 2000. They did actually meet and they fought. Superman won. That looks like, is that a Kurt Swan? I don't think that's Kurt Swan. I think that's a Wayne Boring version of Superman from like probably the 60s. And I'm guessing that's a Kirby Thor. Okay, and we'll probably make this the last one here. So Zatanna and the Scarlet Witch. And obviously, they having these two join together is that they're both characters with a sort of witch or magic theme to them, although their powers operate in very different ways. Now, I don't know right off where this Zatanna figure comes from. But this Scarlet Witch, this is by John Byrne, and this is from a cover of the Avengers. I don't remember the exact number. I'm thinking somewhere around issue 180, maybe 181, something like that, where a mystic named Mordred was using her to cast a spell, if I remember. Part of a really good run on the Avengers at the time. And yeah, we'll go ahead and stop there. I think that's enough. But I do want to thank those who stopped by during the stream. Overlord 69, Mountains of Elysium, thank you both. And those who rewatch afterwards, I want to say Happy New Year to everybody. I hope you'll have a safe and happy New Year. Be careful. Don't get out there and, behind the wheel when you've had too much. And again, thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you next time.